you know, okay, apparently the meeting is being recorded for those of you who want to go on the record for asking questions. Anyway, so the main thing that we've been spending a lot of time on is try to make this so that anybody who's collecting data, whether that's a scientist or grad student, you know, with some basic scripting abilities, is actually able to upload data programmatically. And so, you know, for those of you who try to use the web form, there's a lot of fields to fill in. And what this will enable you to do is to write up a script and then use that to repeatedly upload data to Ess Dive with only changing the metadata. So it's going to be a lot less effort, a little bit of effort on the learning curve and doing it once, but once you have it set up, we hope that this is going to be, you know, really easy for you to do on an ongoing basis. And in order to get you over that initial hump, we've created a lot of examples, documentation that are available in whatever programming language is your choice, whether it's R, Python, Java, that you could then use to pretty much copy and paste into your scripts and then modify it for your types of data. So without further ado, I'm going to let Fiona, Val, and Hesham take over.
Thank you so much, Beth. Thank you. That was really wonderful. My name is Fiona, and I'm going to be kind of going through, we also have Hesham here and Val from our engineering team, and we're going to be kind of just discussing the Ess Dive package service, focusing a lot on the updates and the new documentation that we've recently added. So many thanks to all the team, as I mentioned, Val, Hesham, Zareen, Joan, Charu, and Emily for the work they've done. And let's talk more about what that work is. As Charu mentioned, the Ess Dive package service is designed to allow teams to upload numerous data sets and circumvent the metadata upload by writing a little bit of code. So it's a little bit of work for a lot of ease, is what we hope. So we've just released version 1.2.0. In the new updates, we are able to update existing data packages, updating the metadata, adding new data files, and we are also able to, improving the package visibility. Improving package display. Looking at, when you're searching a single data set, you're able to look at the full metadata, all of the data files, and get an easy link to your data landing page. We also have new and improved documentation website, which we're very excited to show off today, with easy to navigate tutorials, troubleshooting guides, and helpful hints that we hope will help along the way with the package service. So our package service uses JSON-LD, which is JavaScript object notation for linked data. It's recommended by DataSite for package submission, and by embedding JSON-LD into its landing page, that information can be harvested by DataSite and indexed by Google, which raises the visibility of your data set.
This feature with Google is going to be happening in the future, but some examples of enhanced search you can see for recipes and other kinds of data objects, but the data set indexing will come later, the rich search results.
So Ess Dive currently uses a subset of the JSON data set specification, and what we've kind of done is we've taken all of the fields that you see in the Ess Dive web form and found their equivalents in JSON, which is outlined in our JSON schema proposal and outlined in our metadata crosswalk. The crosswalk allows users to get a better understanding of the relationship between the Ess Dive JSON-LD schema and the Ess Dive metadata through the web form. This crosswalk also, as you can see in this image, includes other metadata languages, including OSSI, FGDC, DataSite, and EML. We have a little bit.ly link here, and we'll be sharing this and many more links throughout the rest of this slideshow. These links can also be found on our documentation website.
And we'll have these slides for the webinar also posted on our Ess Dive website for you to refer to this later.
Okay, great. So how do all these segments work together? What we have, let's look at the process of uploading and updating a data package, metadata, and data to Ess Dive. So as we see here, the JSON LD metadata is sent via the API to the upload script and converted into EML, which is the metadata language used by Ess Dive. This metadata is then uploaded to the Ess Dive package service, which creates a landing page for the data set. All users are required to authenticate with a token, which updates daily, keeping you, your data set, and us nice and secure. The upload script also enables us to validate data and instantly give feedback to users on their data set, encouraging maybe a longer abstract or making sure that you have the appropriate information that we need in order to make your data set fair. You're able to upload 1 gigabyte of total data, which includes metadata and data, currently. You are also able to access a list of data packages, and get them from that you have submitted to Ess Dive, and look more at the information, such as making sure that your data sets are public, making sure that you have all of the authors right, and allowing you to easily look at your data sets without having to go to the UI. We also have our fabulous new documentation website with detailed examples and guides to help you through this whole process. So hopefully we'll make this as painless as possible. So the Ess Dive API documentation uses the Open API specification description format, which we've used Swagger UI to transform into an interactive documentation tool, allowing you to explore the available calls to the API with examples and provide detailed descriptions of the expected structure of the submitted JSON. So you're able to test out different calls, see what they would look like, see what their responses are, and see what we expect from the JSON and how we kind of describe what we want to see in our metadata. So to create a new data package, we have a lot of examples, and if by following the rule or the examples and schema from Open API, you can create a new data package. The data packages will be validated on submission, as I mentioned. The API, or if there is anything wrong, the API will bounce back to you, as we see in this image here. It's telling you that we have one or more fields that have raised validation errors. So in this case, we have date published as a required property, provider and editor email as a required property. For me, of course, I've built this, so I know exactly what that means. But through looking at the Open API schema, as mentioned in the previous slide, you are able to figure out what does date published really mean? What does a provider need to entail? And hopefully fix these errors to make submission a breeze. Again, 1 gigabyte file size limit. So this is an example of a successful upload to Ess Dive. We see the dataset ID here, which is a unique identifier to each dataset and to each version of the dataset used on Ess Dive. More relevant to you is the Ess Dive URL, where you can click, or by following this link, you can go straight to your dataset landing page. We also see no errors here because it is a successful upload. And we also have all of the JSON LD in your data set, so as soon as you submitted it, you can see it right back through the API. And you can maybe, if you'd like to store that information and kind of keep that in your logs, we provide that easily and quickly. So to update an existing data package, which is one of our new features, to update the metadata, you just need to submit the fields of the JSON LD that you need to update. So say you need to update your author information. all you need to do is submit just the author's field. So you don't need to rewrite your description. You don't need to resubmit your creator information or your creator information. All you need to do is resubmit the authors, which makes it much easier and much less error prone, which is always good. You're also able to upload additional data files to an existing data package, adding in whatever data files you feel that you need to the data package. Maybe you've submitted the metadata via the UI and you want to add more, you can add more now. Again, all of this you need your authentication token in order to access the API. Tokens update daily, so make sure to double check your token if you ever have any trouble with the API. You can retrieve a list of all of your submitted data packages to Ess Dive, including important metadata information such as title, URL, if it's public or not, which we can see right here, which is always an important one to double check. Did I actually publish this data set, or is it just sitting here and no one can see it yet? And finally, the citation, always a good thing to have. Again, we require the authentication token to access. And finally, you can retrieve a single data package. We've recently updated this with the ability to view the complete JSON LD metadata record. So you can see everything that you've submitted in that original submission. Whether that's via the API or via the UI, you're able to access that via the API. You can see all the data files associated with that, which is very useful. Maybe you realized you forgot one and use the update. So this is all great information, of course, but how do we actually put this into practice? This is a lot of information to be processing, and examples are the way to go. So what we've created is the Ess Dive Documentation Portal. So I'm going to exit here. Hopefully we can still see my screen. This is our new improved documentation website. This includes all of the documentation for Ess Dive, all the tutorials, and we've recently added the metadata and data upload section, which includes the web form tutorial, which is a guide to properly filling out the Ess Dive web form on the website, a package level metadata guide, which will kind of provide insight into all the guidelines and expectations for each metadata field, and finally the package service tutorial. So in the package service tutorial, we go into a more in-depth discussion of a lot of the things we've mentioned here today. A lot of the links we've mentioned are also captured here. A little bit more about JSON LD, information about how we, examples in the GitHub that we have, which I'll be mentioning later. And we also have guides in 3 different programming languages, R, Python, and Java. So let's think and does anyone have a preference for what language we go with? I feel like a lot of people use R. Does anyone? Let's go with R. So in the R example, we are able, let's go to submit a data package. Yes. So when we submit a data package through this guide, we are actually sending the data set to the sandbox. The sandbox is kind of a test area for our users to set up a data set, put it up, and then have it come down really easily, and you're able to test without kind of saving anything, without making anything permanent, and just kind of play around with what we have, with the tools we have available. So once you've kind of played around on Sandbox, submitted a few data sets, made some mistakes hopefully to learn best, you can finally go on the production website, essdive.lbl.gov, and submit your real data package. So we have full code examples here with helpful little guides. So everything you need to know how to set up your code, what packages you'll need to install, and how to run everything from submitting a data package searching or looking through your data packages and updating your data package. Through this fabulous new UI that we've set up, users are able to copy code snippets to take to their own environments or IDEs to create their own version of this data set, with helpful little hints such as making sure that you have your metadata or your JSON stored properly throughout the way to make this whole process a little more clear. We also have some nice error handling so that we can try to make understanding what may have gone wrong as easy as possible for you. We've also created a very helpful guide through our testing. Thank you to Zareen and Emily for their tireless testing and their creation of their troubleshooting guides based on the troubles they ran into themselves. So we have a small number of...
Just to put this in context, Zareen and Emily are undergraduate students in environmental sciences at Berkeley, and so they were able to sort of run this and do this whole test on their own without any prior programming experience.
And so a lot of the troubles that we as an engineering team might not even begin to see were definitely, I mean, they did a really wonderful job of highlighting what little blind spots that we had as a team. So they've created troubleshooting guides for each language. So there's a specific R troubleshooting guide and a Python-specific troubleshooting guide, so that any sort of errors that they've run into, hopefully you won't have to struggle through again. We have the same setup for Python as well. Everything that is in the R version has an equivalent in the Python version, also for Java. So we hope that this will make this really easy and clear. But if you're not interested in jumping back and forth between text or helpful hints and tooltips and explanations of things to code chunks, we also provide a GitHub repository where we keep all of our code examples. Again, Python, R, Java, with all the same code that we have in the tutorial guide in full here on GitHub, so you can just pull this down and use it without any of the straining copy pasting and carpal tunnel that you might get having to copy all of the code off of Gitbook. So we hope that these will be helpful to you. And now we kind of just like to open up the floor for any questions.
Anybody have any questions on where to access this? Again, we'll be putting up all the this whole PowerPoint presentation, as well as our, all these links. I can sort of send it as a follow-up to that email that I sent announcing this webinar.
Hi, this is Terry. So remind me, the token that you get goes with the API person that's doing that. So if I want to go in, or someone else from our team wants to go in, we have to ask for a change and permission for editing?
So right now the tokens are generated for each user ID, which is your ORCID. You would probably be familiar because you've logged in on the website, but anybody who's a registered user with the Ess Dive can find their token on the website. I think technically they're good for 3 days. As far as like long-term tokens, we don't have those yet. So the tokens can be found on the website and copied.
But the token goes with the person that uploads it through the API.
That's right. It's tied to that user. So whatever token you use, it's going to be decrypted, and that they're going to figure out, oh, this is Terry, and Terry is submitting the data package.
Yeah, but for our team, it will be Michael submitting, and one of our team members, most likely me, would be editing if we needed to do that.
Right.
So I would just contact you, and you'll switch the edit permissions.
That's right. So what we could do is you could, for right now, that'll be the process. You could email me and I can add you as a user who has access to that, all the while keeping Michael also with the permissions.
Yeah, Terry, sort of a future feature we are working on is something called project spaces, where, we are hoping that it would not just be the person who's uploading the data, but, other people they want to share it with who has permission to edit the package. That's still a little while away, but that's kind of where we're headed is, for projects to have their own, sort of mini space within this repository where they can all view each other's private packages or even edit if they have the permissions. And then, you could have a workflow to publish your package. But that's not going to happen for a while now. So for now, at least for the next few months, the solution is if someone's uploading on behalf of your project, that person's going to have to contact our support team and have whoever they need with edit privileges also to have permissions to those data sets. And hopefully it's a temporary thing,
So it sounds like the documentation is blocked by Lawrence Livermore and Argonne. The documentation website is blocked by them, so I think that we'll have to come up with a solution.
Can someone, whoever put that comment in, maybe explain what exactly you're getting as a error message, because that'll help us troubleshoot that. And if it's just a login or something, maybe that's a different problem. And you can, yeah, that would help sending us a screenshot. Thanks.
Great.
Thanks, Marvin.
And Terry, still, I have another question. Maybe you're going to get to this. What if you have data that's over 1 gigabyte?
Data larger than 1 gigabyte.
So data larger than 1 gigabyte for now, we can work offline to get that. We are currently working on the version of the package service that will enable larger data sizes, but right now we've limited total 1 gigabyte. So let's just talk offline. So I think the process will be, let's get it in a place where one of our team can upload it for you if it's a time-sensitive thing. But yeah.
Okay.
Cool. Fiona, you were just going to show people about the token and where the documentation on the token is, since that's really important. So you'd actually have to log into the main Ess Dive website to get your token. So if that was not obvious, there's instructions here under the package service. But in this case, if you're uploading to Sandbox, is it the same token for Sandbox and for the production?
It should be the same, yeah.
Yeah. So, but anyway, you would sign in with your ORCID, and then under here in the right-hand side, there's your name will show up, and under that, you have a bunch of things like your settings and your profile. And when you click on your profile, you'll be able to see a screenshot here that says, that's my authentication token. So that's where you'd go grab the token. So that's sort of the most, the token here is blurred out so that people can't really copy, even though this should not be active since it was taken probably many months ago. But
July 25th,
but yeah, you could also click renew authentication token if for whatever reason your token's not working. And so that's what you would use to be able to gain access to Ess Dive. And again, this is the way you would upload your thing, so just treat it like you would treat any other password. It's something to be safeguarded.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
I just wanted to add one thing also, just another way to kind of go through the processing of uploading. We're also working on a Jupyter Notebooks for the API stuff, which can make it a lot simpler of a process too. So just wanted to put that out there that's coming up. Yeah,
Emily, can you introduce yourself so that people know who it is?
Oh, yeah, I'm Emily. I work at Lawrence. I'm an undergraduate at Berkeley, and yeah, I'm on the community engagement team for Ess Dive.
Yeah, so as Emily mentioned, we are sort of working on these Jupyter notebooks that you could then, would also be available on our GitHub site that you could then just use to run these examples on the GitHub directly. So that would also be another way for people to get started on this pretty quickly. I just want to say that from a practical experience of having done this, it's really easy to just copy and paste those example codes and then just change it for the metadata that you want. And if you want to maybe open one of the Python examples here, yeah, just copy and paste it into whatever your favorite IDE is, whether that's a notebook or your, whatever tool you use, like RStudio. You just basically, yeah, like here, the code, you'd copy and paste it and then replace the specific fields that you need with your metadata. And that's all it took to get me up and running. So there's a pretty low bar to getting started on this, hopefully. And the documentation that we have on the website also tells you not just about what these fields are, but if you go to the package level metadata guide, it'll tell you about, what we expect in these different fields and what the formats are. And so there are, the one sort of only thing that we don't have on this API that's enabled that's on the website is the ability to look up controlled vocabularies. So when you're uploading on your website and we have certain keywords, they when you start typing it in, the drop-down list starts to populate with some pre-existing keywords such as the GCMD keywords that we use, or CF convention variables actually. And the other thing is the list of ESS projects. So what you have to do for now, when you're using the API, is to go through this lookup, and you're going to have to look it up on your own and fill these keywords in. So we don't yet have a lookup through the API that's enabled. So that's sort of the one major change you'll see from using the website, is that you can't use these controlled vocabularies. But other than that, once you have this set up once, it's like as easy as hitting this run, so it's going to be fairly straightforward to even make duplicates. So this would be the easiest thing is, oh gosh, I have a package that looks exactly the same except, with all the 30 co-authors in exactly the same except its title is different and a few files are different. This would be really easy for you to just go and create another version of that package there.
And I will just say that, while we did a lot of different levels of testing on the package service, please, if you're the people going to be using the API, or you're coming here on behalf of somebody else who's going to be the engineer doing this or scientist, please encourage people or yourself, email essdive@support.lvl.gov. And, we read all the messages that come in. So if you're having problems or you're having trouble misinterpreting, or, maybe we don't have any good messages, we definitely want that feedback, so that we can definitely update the website if it needs to be, or make sure that you get the help that you need. Can I just ask, how many of you have tried out the API or are planning to soon?
Well, we have with NG Arctic, just to try to start exploring the API a little bit.
Okay, great.
And then after creating a data set, we want to cover publishing a data set really quick. Once you have created, once you've created a data set through the web portal and saved it, on the upper right corner, you'll see a big green publish button. And by clicking that button, you'll start an automated process of sending that into our ticketing system where we will review it. And we'll kind of work with you on a one-on-one basis to update whatever fields we feel need a little bit more attention or clarification to best fit these metadata guidelines before we mint a DOI for that data set if a DOI is needed. and make it public on the Ess Dive website.
So what happens if what cases are DOIs not needed? You want to go into that?
Cases where DOIs are not needed is if you have an existing DOI, maybe from your organization, that you would like to keep for that data set, but you would like to have the data set stored on on Ess Dive as well. Maybe you would like to have it on both your homepage and on Ess, or on your own personal web landing page and on Ess Dive, or potentially you would like to migrate your existing landing page to Ess Dive and take down whatever landing page you had previously. So we are happy to support whether you want a new DOI or if you want to use your own.
And just so you know that as soon as you, finish testing your scripts on the sandbox system and you submit data packages with metadata and data to the Ess Dive website, those are immediately available for you to view and edit. So you could, submit your data packages with your scripts, and then you can review them immediately on the Ess Dive website and use the editing tool in there to make further edits if you were needed to refine any of the information in there.
Yeah, and I think the reason why we have this workflow for now is that it's always good to see what the package is going to look like on the website, because that's what the public are going to use to actually search and browse. So we actually want to encourage people to actually see what it's going to look like before you hit the publish button, because there are things that it's just so easy to use this API that there are small things you might not realize when you're cutting and pasting or running through a lot of examples, that it's actually good to have a last pair of eyes on the actual thing that you're publishing before you hit publish. That being said, if that's a major inconvenience for people when they are publishing their data sets, we would like to know that so that we can sort of figure out whether publication through the API is another option we want to offer people. But for now, we thought it's a good process to encourage everyone to follow.
Are you tracking downloads and?
Sorry, Terry, you got cut out a bit. Can you?
Tracking downloads, I think.
Are you tracking the downloads for metrics?
Yes, through our website. Yes.
Yep. Ess Dive's architecture automatically takes care of the tracking of downloads and metadata page views. Can you go to the Ess Dive? So you can go to Ess Dive and you can look at the complete statistics for Ess Dive as a whole, or each data package. So if you just click, you might want to click on it. These are very new, but what? You're not signed in? Okay.
I know Spruce has been very active. So.
Yeah. Yeah, Spruce. So, so you're going to see some features here that Fiona has access to. Don't go that one. That one is not published yet. So let's go to, one that's probably got some, maybe has some downloads. But basically, you're going to see a feature here also is that the admins are testing, so this isn't going to have any because it's just been really brand new. But I would go to one of the older CDAC ones just to give her an idea of what it looks like. Just go back to page 14 or something.
Or just your CDAC.
Yeah. Oh,
but will I be able to get metrics for projects? Because we report metrics in our quarterly report and in our annual reports.
So when we come out with the project spaces, you'll definitely be able to do that. If you need, if you have a need where you're like, oh my gosh, I need metrics now, and the project spaces has come out, please email us, because I think we could probably get that for you, just based on the filtering.
But this is sort of the page what you will be able to see pretty soon. I think you actually can see downloads and views.
You can see downloads and views.
Per data set, though. So you could see how many people have downloaded it, how many people have seen it. This is one of our very popular data sets from CDAC. So it's got 3,000 views, 140 downloads. You can see the timeline for the downloads. And then you can see where the papers or other data publications where it's been cited. So if you want to hit the citation, and then you can see where it's been cited as well. Getting the citations to show up correctly is sort of a work in progress, and we have to educate the community to make sure that they're referencing the data set correctly so that these citations will show up correctly. So we'll have a follow-up webinar on that because that's a completely different topic, but this is a feature that is coming. And as Val had sort of indicated, we are building these project spaces where you should be able to see the metrics on a project level basis reasonably soon, in the next few months for sure. Yeah. Yeah, in the meanwhile, if you do want that for your project, yeah, sure, reach out to us and we can give that to you. And do you want to just show the quality report while we're on here?
No, it's not enabled right now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, the other feature that we have is a quality report that you can, before you hit publish, even for your API packages, we have a quality report that you can then view. That's also not public yet. That's only in admin-only test mode right now, but I think in the next 2 to 3 months, we should have that also be available for private data packages. So that's another thing you should use to double check that your package meets some minimum quality before you publish it. So it's not just entering the required fields, it's that you really are meeting some, basic standards for what people are expecting when you publish a data set. So if any other questions, or if you want us to revisit something that we talked about earlier that we went through pretty quickly, let us know and we're happy to revisit that.
Yes. This is Terry again. How is data uploaded through the API?
Via HTTP, is that what you're asking me, or is it something more?
What is it supposed to, individual files or?
Oh, gotcha.
Folders,
yeah.
And what is it supposed to look like?
Yeah, so the data set tutorials will definitely walk you through that, but basically you'll have your metadata file, and you could actually construct that in code, or you can actually have the JSON file somewhere on your hard drive. It's up to you. But in Python, you could read a CSV file that has a list of data package metadata, and then you could construct the JSON LD as a Python object, which is pretty easy to do, and I think we might show some form of that to you in the tutorial. Additionally, the files, any data files will just be files that you would have on your computer, so you'll have the metadata file or in code, and then you'll have your data files that you're going to upload. So does that help?
And this is where Fiona is pointing to it, is you basically point to the file as a path, and you would basically upload it. Ess Dive doesn't yet have the ability to store folders with hierarchical folders in it. So if you wanted to upload a full directory, then you're going to have to zip that up and upload it as a file. We don't yet have the ability to open up, folders in there and view it like it was a directory system. So it's basically, to answer your question, Terry, it's exactly the same as what you would do for your web form. The data files would look no different. And all you have to do is change the path where you've got your files located here.
Okay, so to clarify that, we can only upload one file?
You can upload as many files as you want, just as long as the total data package for one submission is 1 gig or under. However, having said that, you could, set up your metadata, upload your metadata, and if you have, right now we just have to limit each submission to 1 gig of data, but you could, make multiple sequential submissions of, if you have 1 gig, like say you have some data files that are, larger, almost a gig or something, you could just keep on adding the files, but the total single submission would have to be a gig or under.
And we're working on a larger file upload through the API.
Yeah.
So that'll also be a feature that's coming out.
Yeah.
Okay, that sounds good.
Great.
Other questions? Or if anyone wants us to go over any of these again, we're happy to do that. You can also end the webinar a little early, so that's also fine. All right, it sounds like people need a little bit of time to digest this. So what I will do is we'll first make sure that we fix all the problems with people not being able to access their documentation. For those of you who encountered that, please send us a screenshot. It'll help us if multiple of you send that so we kind of figure out what the problem is and whether it's the same problem for all of you or different problems.
Yeah.
And then I'll send a follow-up email to people, just showing where this whole package service tutorial examples are all available. And we're going to be doing a major refresh to our Ess Dive website, so it's through our website you should be able to find all of this stuff too.
Of course, if you run into any trouble with package service or with the submission of data, always feel free to reach out to the support team. We are here to help. And we are happy to make sure that it goes well.
Yep.
Thanks, everybody.